Worn out in the service of my kin. You don't have to put up with old Granny anymore.
Irene Ryan's life was a story of grit, laughter, heartbreak, and a quiet kind of generosity that most people never knew about. She once made $500,000 a year playing Granny Clampett on the Beverly Hillbillies of Fortune in the 1960s. She could have lived in a mansion, surrounded by luxury, but instead she spent her final years in a modest little house at 107 Esparta Way in Santa Monica. After her death, no one touched it for decades. When explorers finally stepped inside, they found props from the show, piles of fan letters, and a sealed envelope containing her final words. That letter revealed a secret side to the woman who had made millions laugh, a side full of longing, resilience, and pain. Born on October 17, 1902, in El Paso, Texas, Irene's early life was marked by poverty. Her father, James Merritt Noble, was a low-ranking Army sergeant from North Carolina, and her mother, Catherine McSherry, had emigrated from Ireland in search of a better life. The family struggled to survive, often relying on others just to put food on the table. El Paso in the early 1900s was a rough, bustling border town, shaped by waves of immigrants and the aftershocks of the Mexican Revolution. For young Irene, it was a daily fight to get by, but those early struggles forged her determination, humor, and independence. Her family life was unusual. Irene had an older sister, Anna, who was 17 years her senior. By the time Irene could form sentences, Anna was already living her own life elsewhere. Growing up mostly around adults, Irene learned to keep herself entertained. She became self-sufficient, sharp-witted, and quick on her feet, traits that would later help her survive in the cutthroat world of show business. At age 11, she stepped onto a stage for the first time, singing Pretty Baby at an amateur contest in San Francisco's Valencia Theater. She won the top prize, $3, which would be about $98 today. More importantly, she won the applause of a cheering crowd. That night lit a fire inside her. Performing wasn't just fun, it was a way out of poverty. By 14, Irene was determined to join a California stock theater company, but there was one problem: no one under 16 was allowed to work. So she lied about her age and got in. Once on stage, she proved she belonged. 2 years later, she left high school entirely, traveling with theater companies and performing almost every night. By the age of 20, she was already a seasoned performer. That same year, she met fellow vaudevillian Tim Ryan. They married quickly and became a comedy team known as Tim and Irene. Vaudeville was the beating heart of American comedy in the 1920s and 30s, and the Ryans thrived. Their most famous routine, Dumb Dora, featured Irene as a hilariously clueless wife and Tim, the exasperated husband. Audiences loved it so much that Tim's catchphrase, "Will you stop?" became the title of one of their 1937 films. Together, they moved from the stage to radio, then to short films, churning out 11 comedy shorts in just 2 years during the Great Depression. They even replaced Jack Benny on NBC's The Jell-O Summer Show, a huge honor at the time, but behind the scenes, their marriage was crumbling. Years of touring, long hours, and constant work together took a toll. In 1942, after 2 decades together, they divorced. Irene kept the name Ryan. It had become her professional identity. She never remarried, saying, "The stage is my partner, and the audience is my family." It was more than a quote. It was her truth. After the split, she reinvented herself. In 1948, she joined Bob Hope's touring company, performing for troops around the world. She entertained soldiers in war zones, flew into dangerous airfields, and brought laughter to hospital wards during World War II and later during the Berlin airlift. It wasn't glamorous work sometimes. She performed just miles from enemy lines, but it cemented her reputation as a performer who showed up no matter what. The late 40s and 50s brought steady work, but no breakthrough roles. Irene played nurses, nosy neighbors, and eccentric aunts in films and on television. She came close to bigger opportunities, but they always seemed to slip away. Still, she refused to quit. Then came the Beverly Hillbillies. Initially, the casting agent thought Irene was wrong for the role of Granny Clampett. She didn't look, sound, or feel like a hillbilly matriarch. So she called creator Paul Henning directly and challenged him. "Do I have to go home and put on my gray wig and shawl to convince you?" Henning was intrigued and invited her to audition. The moment she walked in, she became Granny voice, walk, glare, everything. There was no debate. The role was hers. On screen, she played Buddy Ebsen's mother-in-law, but in reality, they were close in age, makeup, wigs, and her brilliant physical acting sold the illusion. She infused Granny with more than just bluster. There was warmth, pride, and tradition beneath the sass. Audiences adored her, and she earned back-to-back Emmy nominations in 1963 and 1964. At the height of the show's success, she was making $500,000 a year, superstar money for the time, but she lived simply, invested wisely, and avoided Hollywood excess. When the series ended in 1971, she shocked everyone by turning down a spin-off centered on Granny. Instead, she chased a lifelong dream: Broadway. In 1972, she was cast as Berthe in Pippin, performing the song No Time at All while swinging on a trapeze at the age of 70. Critics raved, audiences roared, and she earned a Tony nomination. She proved, yet again, that she could reinvent herself, but just months into the show's run, tragedy struck. On March 10, 1973, after finishing her number, she collapsed backstage. Doctors discovered she had an inoperable brain tumor. 6 weeks later, on April 26th, she was gone. She was 70 years old. Her Santa Monica home was left untouched for years, its garden overgrown, its roof sagging. Inside, explorers found Beverly Hillbillies props, old scripts, and thousands of fan letters. In a dusty drawer, they found a sealed envelope with Irene's signature. Inside was a letter, a candid confession of loneliness, betrayal, and a secret love she never revealed publicly. It was the voice of a woman beloved by millions, but still haunted by what she never had. Irene Ryan was buried in Santa Monica's Woodlawn Memorial Cemetery, next to her sister. Her tombstone bears a single word, Granny, but her legacy lives on not only in reruns, but in the Irene Ryan Foundation, a scholarship fund for aspiring actors. Every year, it supports young performers chasing their dreams, just as she once did. In life, Irene Ryan chose authenticity over glamour, challenge over comfort, and generosity over self-indulgence. She was a woman who could make America laugh, fly into a war zone for a show, swing from a Broadway trapeze at 70, and leave behind a gift that continues to change lives decades after her final curtain call.